Hey Soul, before the show starts, I could use some advice.
That's kind of different for you to ask me for help. By the way, use the bar to skip ahead if you don't want to learn anything.
What?
Nothing, Bob. I'm all ears.
Okay, so there's someone at my work who I like a lot, and I want to be with them.
I see.
So, what should I do to get their attention?
No, just don't.
Wait, you don't even know who it is?
No. Asking out a coworker, you and everyone else, asking out a coworker just is not appropriate, and it can get you into a lot of trouble. And it's just way too long of a conversation. But just understand that the workplace is where you work and not where you try to, hook up with someone.
Okay, so what if we're outside of work, just hanging?
No. Stop. I'm not going to debate the nuance of, if this and if that. I'm not human resources. I can't approach these sorts of topics with a wit and humor. No, get out of here, freaking irrational self-doubt. Now's just not the time. But, we can talk about this later, right? Like, are you still up for drinks tonight?
No, not anymore. Wow, I hate you.
Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly. Let me share a little bit of trivia, okay? So I write the weekly, these shows on Thursdays between my stream in the morning and my guild raid in the evening. And then the next day I look at everything, I see that it's crap, I just keep writing, knowing that everything that I wrote on Thursday was just garbage. And then I record at noontime and then throw everything together during the periods of like early to late evening so that it gets published on Saturday mornings. Hello everyone. Writing this week's weekly, especially the main story, was a challenge because the big stories of this week have been ongoing and are updating so fast that my head is just spinning. I woke up this morning, it's Friday, and there's more stuff going on, so I'm feeling so overwhelmed that this week's main story will compromise the rest of this week's roundup. Of course, some things don't change, right? I want to give a big thanks to Michael for joining us on Patreon and to the Brutal Store Party on Twitch, who is making my legs just feel super monstrous. Okay, that sounds really awkward to write and to say. Just, show up to the stream whenever you can and you'll find out what I mean. Anyway, this week's events have been exhausting. It's demoralizing. It's discouraging. It's not even really gaming. It's not funny, but it's what we're facing, whether it makes you feel comfortable or not. Over the course of this week, multiple people have spoken out and made claims of grooming, sexual harassment, even assault from popular Twitch streamers and content creators in our space, our house, where our biggest concern should otherwise be, what's up with shadow priests and why is there a tree on this troll's head? The sore thumb in all of this has been the Method organization, who, after numerous allegations against one of its members came to light, which reinforced past allegations the other year, cut ties with this certain member. But the degree of separation between member and leadership within the organization is not very far, and the internet couldn't even manage a golf clap for Method just before calling them out for looking the other way up until now. Eventually, the situation snowballed, resulting in Method losing sponsorships, and many members of its organization leaving, including some of their raid members and personalities who simply, flew waving their banner. I have to admit, it's a bit troubling that Method let go of Joker D for ninja looting way back in the day, but kept another member who was under investigation. What's made this even worse, though, new allegations for some of these people are bubbling to the surface. It's a wild ride that isn't over yet, and by the time you watch this video, more of your favorite streamers or content creators could be under fire. Blizzard also made efforts to distance themselves from the accused, for example, scrubbing personalities from the World of Warcraft itself. Because no one wants to be called out as that person, that organization or company who condoned bad behavior. But we have to admit, we exercise a measure of tolerance, giving the benefit of the doubt, maybe even turn a blind eye. And of course, here come the comments about Hong Kong. The point is, to what degree do we label ourselves as condoning behavior, or are even complicit to this behavior? Someone asked me the other day, and I'd like to get your take on this too, alright? This person told me that they used the UI setup of Sko, the raid leader of Method, and asked me if they should continue using this UI in light of everything that's going on. So I had to double check and see if Sko actually made his own UI from scratch, like literally, like the programming, coding, and all that stuff, and he doesn't. So my reply to this person summed up to this. I'm not going to stop wearing a certain brand of clothes just because someone who also wears them, just wears them and doesn't make the brand themselves, if they were later exposed for inappropriate behavior. Everyone's got their limit to where the degree of separation isn't anything to lose sleep over, and this is my personal example. It's very hurtful when someone that you watch or is a mentor to you or a role model betrays the trust that you give them. But if we were to try and disassociate ourselves from everything that was directly or indirectly tainted, I don't think we'd get to enjoy much of anything from anyone. I say this because the world is going to keep spinning, and questions will continue to be asked. Method as we knew it has been destroyed. Members are in the wind, a number of management has gone. More importantly, though, of course, the lives of these victims have been maimed, and they're going to have to endure a far greater pain under a system that only serves an imperfect justice. The boss of Fanbyte Media, who operates Wowhead, summed this up pretty well. He says in his post, "We have ended negotiations until Method is unrecognizable from a human resources standpoint from where it is today. Thanks." Thanks. Yeah, thanks. That's a polite way to tell Method that they're done. People love a good redemption story, but will there be one for Method? Can they manage to get a roster together for the next big whatever WoW event there is? And what's going to happen when they get up on stage? The news is moving so fast that even that question might have an answer by the time that you watch this. But what about its members too? Can they shrug off the stigma of being associated with an all but ruined name? Will they continue to be asked, did they know? Did they look the other way? What's going to happen to Wago, the WeakAura site that was bought by Method just recently? How about Blizzard? What's supposed to be their take on an organization like Method who built themselves up mostly thanks to their game? Should streamers or content creators like myself who try to inform be a lot more aggressive at amplifying concerns like these under the risk of a defamation lawsuit? Where does the accountability end? I don't know, but I kind of know where it starts, and it starts with the aggressor. There's a very simple lesson to learn here. It's, easy to learn, hard to master, I guess. And if there's any takeaway from this whole thing, here you go. Keep your professional life professional. Keep your hands and other things to yourself in the workplace. Obviously, don't assault people, right? But in the workplace, inappropriate conduct like this disrupts the relationship between fellow coworkers, and especially people at different levels of seniority, because then we get into the subject of the projection and the abuse of power. In this context, what the accused are dealing with are the consequences of not realizing, or maybe they do realize, that streamers and content creators are public figures, big and small, and they project a certain power, influence, and pressure that can be used to their advantage. In this case, an abuse of celebrity, to use that term really loosely. That doesn't just turn off or go off the clock. And I don't have tips or advice for this other than to believe the accuser, to let the accused have a voice, but first and foremost, just keep it in your goddamn pants.
What if I don't have pants?
That's a nice way to cut into the tension. Well done, Bob. So we have normal news. Let's start with the small stuff, alright? Blizzard this week released a hotfix that now lets you use Echoes of ny'alotha to buy Malefic Cores, the items that let you up your corruption resistance after getting your legendary cloak to rank 15. Way to go, Echoes, the catch-all of patch 8.3. 0.5, sort of, kind of. Echoes of ny'alotha, they get you essences. They get you vision keys. They get you corruptions. They get you cores. It also doubles up as a bottle opener, face mask, toothbrush, stun gun, and precision tool when you need to conduct an emergency vasectomy. On Wednesday, Blizzard announced that they would do a round 2 of their highly anticipated live stream featuring game director Ian Hazzikostas and executive producer and VP John Haidt. And just like last time, they're telling us 2 weeks in advance, and that is so weird. Since their cancelled event nearly a month ago, there have been several Shadowlands builds launching the remaining leveling zones, and the announcement of the Warsong Gulch Summer Bowl. It's all but expected that we're going to hear some encouraging news, like release dates, maybe a look at the collector's edition box, and perhaps a cinematic to get us all fired up. But what else could there be? Might we get an announcement for
World of Warcraft Classic Mobile?
Maybe not. The 5-week-long time walking event is underway this week, and it's going to go on until we run out of expansions, kind of. Starting with the Burning Crusade, you're going to earn 50% bonus reputation from kills and quests that you complete. I can't think of any jokes because this is a useful event without controversy. Yeah. Blizzard is also rewriting history, or is it rewriting the future? With an alteration to their Son of the Wolf comic that was released before the launch of World of Warcraft Legion. The change comes at the very end of the comic after a big time skip where Velen is standing next to an aged Anduin, or Olduin. No? Okay. Anyway, Velen says a line that the light will triumph over the shadow this day, but that line is totally gone. So this suggests a few things. One is that Blizzard wants the scene to be canon, and then there's the context of the scene. Anduin and the Draenei are off to some final battle, with no other races apparently in sight. With the removal of Velen's line, we don't know who they're fighting, but also importantly, who they're fighting for. Does Anduin and Velen still fight for the light in this scene, or are they simply fighting to exist? Maybe they're fighting alongside Sylvanas, the new Arbiter of Death and Herald of Azeroth, against the forces of alternate universe Argus. It's going to be a fun one, so maybe I'll get into this in a future lore video. Shadows Rising, the upcoming book to help kick off Shadowlands, will be available in a few short weeks, and there's an excerpt available that I'll link in the description. This one features your favoriteest guy ever, Nathanos Blightcaller. This isn't what I would call a spoiler, but feel free to skip ahead if you want. But in the alpha, Nathanos can be found as an outdoor world boss tuned to level 50 characters, so we're going to be fighting his ass in the pre-patch. I have to admit that Nathanos has become one of those love-to-hate characters, so singularly focused on his loyalties to the abandonment of anyone and anything else. What I admire, maybe even like, about his character is that he never changed. He was always like this. He was always a dick. And despite your self-insert conspiracy theories, he never cared for anyone but his bae. If anything, now Nathanos is totally untethered and unhinged, and doesn't have to hold back his dislike of us, which is always there. And it's thanks to that his voice lines they're just comically sarcastic, and fun to listen in a "God, I hate your ass" kind of way. And another spoiler alert, you don't actually kill him, sorry. It just means that there's going to be more voice lines to enjoy, and I can't wait. On to this week's alpha build with the usual round of character customization highlights, but the star of this week's build is the starting experience of Shadowlands itself. I was pleasantly surprised, at least at first I thought that I was going to do like the Horde version of Exile's Reach, but surprise, off to the mall we go. A full gameplay video is going to be available, which I'll link in the description and in the upper right hand corner, somewhere that way, I think. It's a fairly long romp that's missing a lot of context, like, okay, so how did this character get there, or how did that one get there, and hey look, it's the big bad guy already. Or at least we think so, because, I don't know, I got a Gul'dan sort of vibe from him, and during this experience, he might be the villain of the Shadowlands. He might have helped kick things off along with Sylvanas, but who says it ends with him, right? One very curious addition were data mined strings that allude to a system that lets you flag yourself as a guide or a mentor for new players. Based on these strings, eligible accounts can sign up to be a guide who can answer questions in a mentor chat channel. That way, if someone has a question, I can hopefully send them the Wowhead link with the answer. Onto the customization side of things, Night Elves got additional scars, including the souvenir from Teldrassil, and I got this trying to scratch an itch while in cat form. Meanwhile, in a small surprise, the Nightborn allied race is getting some love in the form of what I'm going to call cyber ears, because seriously, they look robotic. Okay, maybe they look like daggers in a sheath, I don't know. The real round of customization this week focused on the Pandaren and the Darkspear trolls. Let's start with this red panda over here, who gets a wider allotment of beards and the Waka look? Yeah, okay. The men also have a few additional beard styles to pull off that good old Imperial period cosplay. Pandaren females got the short stick this week, unfortunately, with considerably fewer cosmetics, according to Wowhead's data mining. but they are getting numerous eye colors, and so are the guys, I just didn't show them, along with a few additional hairstyles. Like I said, it's very limited, but we expect to see more soon. More attention overall was given to the Darkspear fam. Check out the highlights and the new do's on the ladies, including this pretty cool tribal look with the half hair and tattoo. But hey, there appears to be no ear length adjustment. Come on. The guys in the meantime, they get, you saw this before, they get a tree on their head. They get some other cool stuff, but well, you can see that on your own time. I'm just gonna force this tree on his head. I'm gonna make you look at it for a little bit. It's like he thought that it was a good idea to, I don't know, wear an umbrella to protect him from the rain. Or maybe it sits on his head normally, right? But then if you get punched in the face, it just boom, and then it pops up like that. You know, like those toys. That's a wrap up for now, and whew, I need to decompress. Boy, oh boy. What a week, right? I've had to go back and check Twitter to see what else hit the fan each time I wrote down an article piece, just to find out, oh god, what now, right? It's not too hard to guess that this whole thing is going to take a while. In the meantime, Twitch will need to get its act together to come down on behavior like this hard when it's on their platform. It's going to be up to organizations that sign players to understand that once you go official like this, you can't defend bad actors just because they were there with that team from the start. The regular folks on the internet, I think they've been helping. They've provided enough cushion and support for victims to speak out, anonymously or otherwise. And that's more bravery than I think I could ever muster. And even though this week was full of really serious topics, good. I'm glad that this is happening. I hope that this trend continues until it's done, so that way we can move on and continue on with the real issues, the first world problems of the World of Warcraft. So please don't forget to hit the like button, maybe subscribe, maybe sign up as a patron, because working with one monitor really sucks, and that's a different story altogether. But anyway, take care, people on the toilet. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.